Under the same moon, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World News at Noon today. And by the way, before we get started, shout out to Remedy, the first one in the building today. And also we have Deborah. Deborah has been holding us down for far too long, but not long enough. We want Deborah to stay around forever. Pretty Things is in the building, and also my fellow New Yorker, Harlem, New York. You guys are so amazing. Today we're going to cover the press conference in regards to Nolan Wells, hot off the press. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. We're taking on a lot of heat in regards to Nolan Wells' case, but we're ready for the heat. We want it. Bring the heat on. But we ask that you continue to support the channel. It means a lot, especially as we cover some of these cases that are tough. In fact, we cover cases that people find it disturbing to talk about, but these are the things that we're faced with every day. In fact, I was speaking with someone today, and we were talking about all of these cases, especially involving young girls, young boys. Who's causing all of this to happen? Well, whichever way this goes, we're going to talk about it. In fact, the more you push back, the more we're going to talk about it, all right? Because it's important to bring awareness and we shine light in places that other people find to be dark, right? What you try to hide, we shed light on and will continue to. So let's pay attention to this press conference. Again, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. I'm actually producing a nice video in regards to the Nolan Wells case to help you understand the timeline, okay? The timeline. So make sure when I drop the video that you go and like it and bring some awareness to it, because I'm going to show everyone that after 4:30, in accordance to the words of Warren, we really don't have anyone to point fingers with photos or video that say, here, guys, here's Nolan. Nolan standing here eating a cheeseburger. We don't have that, okay? So that's what we're looking for. The minute we find anything to show that Nolan is on the island after 4:30, I'll be the first one to come forward and say, listen, guys, here's Nolan after 4:30. Here's Nolan after this audio came out, but people are saying, Nolan, oh shit, Nolan, all of that, right? Now, let's make it very clear. We're no fools over here. We're very intelligent folks here at Watching the World. In fact, we don't need your enhanced audio. We don't need your manipulated audio. We don't need you adding anything to the audio. In fact, we don't need you removing anything from the audio. Keep the sound on the audio. I don't care about the sound. You know why? Because with the natural audio that was put out locally by the WLOX, you can still hear Nolan's name at least 3 times. We don't need an enhanced audio. What are we doing here? Forget about the enhancements. We don't need a transcript. I've never once said we needed a transcript. Nancy Grace has done a great job. God bless America, home of the brave. But guess what? We don't need that. We have the audio, and clearly you can hear a girl asking a question about Nolan. You're not going to make us think we're stupid. Oh my God, it's such gibberish. I guarantee you, if these boys were of a different background, they would have had this audio so clear in a New York Minute before you could turn around, they would say, "Oh my God, did you hear what these hood boys were saying when this college kid and amazing guy, what happened to him?" I guarantee you, you would see something different. But now everybody wants us to say, "Oh, you heard something in the background? You're crazy. You're out of your rabid mind." That's what people want you to think when it comes to this. So anyway, let's get to the actual press conference. Okay. Now, again, I always drop the link. If you'd like to come up and tell us something different, show us something different, we're not accusing. There's no suspects on the table here. I made that very clear, right? We're not even saying a group of people did something to Nolan. We don't have any hard proof of anything. But what we're doing, we're taking our time to look at a case, and not just Nolan case, we look at many cases, right? And history kind of helps us to understand what the future is going to bring. So we expect that there are going to be more Nolans, more cases of this sort. And guess what? We're going to cover those cases too. And we do so at a very high level. Okay. No amount of intimidation is going to change that fact. In fact, the more you try to suppress Nolan, the more we're going to push back. In fact, we're going to talk about Nolan every night until the chickens come home. You follow what I'm saying? It's a very serious matter. We don't take it lightly around here because every life is important. And whether Ben Crump talks about it, whether the family talks about it, we're going to talk about it. Okay? And we're going to do so. And we're going to uncover every stone. We're going to look at every boat. And we're going to ask questions as to why the Palm Beach wasn't on the police report. Kind of like what we did last night. Yes, we're going to do it. So for those of you that consistently come into the chat with your own scenario and trying to push people around, it's not going to work. All right. The more you push back, the more foolish you appear. And guess what? Our moderators are not going to stand for it. We let you live, right? They let you live for the most part. But the minute you cross the lines and you start to act uncivilized, then you have to go. All right. That's just how it goes. That's the nature of the beast. So let's get to this press conference, guys. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. I have a powerful show coming. If you thought the show last night was great in accordance with Nolan Wells, well, you'll definitely appreciate the next one coming down the pipeline. Let's check out this press conference, and thank you guys very much for all you do. Let's get to it.
Right.
Good morning. Let me say the case that we have been dealing with now for the last several weeks around Nolan Wells is indicative of many cases around the country that have raised serious questions with racial overtones. Attorney Crump and I are going tomorrow, where I'm doing the eulogy for a young Black man in Madison, Wisconsin, homeless, and they say had a knife, and there's the tape of him being shot, 3 cops surrounding him, shot and killed, 4 shots. And these cases building up in a climate of an administration in Washington that we cannot feel will objectively investigate. There was a time that we could say if state authorities fail us, we can go to the Justice Department. Even under George Bush, we went to the Justice Department. We, at this point, have to hope that one, we could deal with civil courts, or secondly, that there's a balance of power with the Democrats taking the House in November, and maybe the Judiciary Committee under that can at least put a check and balance on cases that need to be investigated. But we are right now where we have 2 parents, lovely parents, I've gotten to know them, that really don't have an answer to a question. Is it a civil rights violation or not? And we do not know. How do you trust the words of people that say immediately there was no foul play when you haven't even investigated whether there was foul play? How do you trust people that come back from something that happened and never really give you a straight story of what happened, including you have the keys to the car? So when you have more questions than answers, you have to have people that will drive the answers out, and that's what we do. And that's why I've been involved, and that's why we stay involved. And it gets worse and worse and worse. The parent of one of the boys threatening to sue us for asking a question. Imagine that now. Some of y'all call it, what do you feel about the parents? One of the boys said he's going to sue you and Ben Crump. Sue us for what? For saying what happened? So we've gone back that far. And that is why we're going to stand with these parents, because usually, you know, I come from Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised there. I don't come from the South. But my mother used to bring me down south to my grandmother in Dothan, Alabama. And Congresswoman, my grandmother told me, you see that pen over there? I said, yes. She said, that's a pen of hogs and pigs. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, always know something. If you take a brick and you throw it in that pile, the hog that hollers is the hog you hit. There's too much hollering going on in Mississippi that we haven't hit something. I can't figure out which one we hit, but we hit something. Because now they talking about lawsuits. They threatening a mother of a child, trying to get her job taken. You wouldn't be hollering if we wasn't hitting something. And we're going to stay on that, and we're going to stay on it all the way. In light of that, before attorney, and I call him the Attorney General of Black America, gives us the legal basis, and then we hear from the parents. Congresswoman who lived herself through dealing with the whole tragedy of her own son. That's how we met, on a plane. She was a flight attendant at the time. And she stopped me on the plane and said, well, man, why ain't you dealing with my son's case? And we started a relationship. She ended up being elected right here in Georgia and reelected. They redrew her lines, and she was reelected anyhow. The lines couldn't reduce the favor of the people. Congresswoman Lucy McBath.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to say thank you to Reverend Al Sharpton, and also thank you to Attorney Crump for being the armor bearers for this family, the Nolan.
Guys, let's hit the like button, share, subscribe, and also keep hitting the hearts. Thank you.
Nolan's family. It's a really, really sad occasion that we're here again. I was just saying to my staff on the way in, it's like this brings back so many vivid memories for me and my own family, having lost Jordan to unnecessary gun violence in November 2012, Black Friday, simply because he was Black and playing loud music in his car. And so here we are again today, here for the loss of another Black young man in our community. And we find ourselves asking the same questions. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And this family stands here demanding answers. This family deserves answers. I myself sought the same justice for my son, Jordan, that they're seeking for theirs, and they deserve answers, and they deserve justice. Justice that should not be denied this family, or should ever be denied to any of our children or our lost loved ones. As a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, I'm the second vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. We are demanding a full federal investigation. Kash Patel, we're demanding a full federal investigation as to what has actually happened to Nolan Wells. We want to make sure that every stone is unturned,
Guys, put a 1 in the chat if you think this should be investigated by the FBI. Put a 2 if no. Put a 3 if you don't care.
Because his life matters. All of our children's and our families' lives matter. And we must fight back. We must stand up and we must demand accountability for this family's loss. We cannot turn a blind eye to what continues to happen again and again and again. That's the reason why I ran for Congress, to make sure that we continue to put a face on what's happening to our families and our communities every single day. We must say Nolan's name. Say his name. Lift his name. And as the national Black journalists of this country, you have the ability to be able to lift this story and not let it die. We see over and over again these kinds of tragedies in our communities that continue to happen. And they make it to CNN. They make it to MSN Now. They make it to our local news for maybe 30 days, if that. And then the stories are gone. And the carnage is left with the families and the communities that have lost someone that they love. So I thank the National Black Journalists. Thank you for lifting this family story. Do not let it die. Continue to say his name. Continue to tell his story, because they deserve justice, and it matters. It mattered for me. It mattered for Trayvon. It mattered for Eric Brown. It matters for all of our loved ones that we have lost.
As Attorney Crump comes, let me say, as Congressman McBath has said, the caucus has asked the federal government to look into it. For those of us that are worried about the politicalization of the present administration, that is why January becomes important, that we have a judiciary committee that can also monitor when investigation happens now or does not happen. So it won't end there. They may come out with any announcement they want in the next month or so. We having a big march August 28th in Washington we must deal with voting rights. So we have the right people in so we can check and balance. I want to say to people in Mississippi, whatever investigation you come with, once we have a fair and balanced government, your investigation will be investigated. It will not end with what they say in Mississippi. Attorney General of Black America, Benjamin Crump.
Thank you so much, Mentor. Reverend Allen, thank you for helping not only lead the effort to get to the truth, but keeping this family in your prayers as you have done so many more families, giving them support. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Eric Ertz, Attorney Lisa Park, Attorney Ahmad Smith. We have the honor of representing the family of Nolan Wells. Obviously, you all have come to know his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley. And this is hard. I heard Congresswoman McBath, who lost her son Jordan almost 12 years ago. And it's still raw and emotional when you hear her talk about the loss of a child. I mean, he's not coming back. And that is the story. Everything else is just, hyperbole, is distraction. The story is what happened to Nolan Wells. Somebody knows something. Somebody saw something. I'm thankful to Reverend Al Sharpton and Mr. Tyler Perry and Terrell Owens and Byron Allen putting up these rewards. I understand others have now put up rewards, and that's good because that means we all have the same objective. We want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. And it is urgent. It is urgent because each day that goes by, you worry, will we ever get to the truth? And so that's why we want to thank CBC for calling on the federal authorities and anybody else who has resources to help this family get to the truth of what happened to their son. I know I was talking to Christian Clark, and she said, no, let's make sure that all taxpayers' money that goes to support federal resources apply to our children too. I mean, let's say that nobody should say, oh, it doesn't matter that much because it's a black child. No, it matters. All of our children matter. And so we are going to continue every day to say his name, Attorney Hertz, Attorney Park, Attorney Smith, trying to work with the local district attorney to give them what they need to do a thorough, fair, full, impartial investigation. That's what we're asking for. Everything else is just a distraction because Nolan's birthday is next Wednesday, August 19th. It is going to be extremely difficult for his mother, his father, and his family, because this August 19th will be like no other that they've ever had for the last 19 years. I mean, it's a milestone when your child gets to be 18 years old. You try to breathe a little easier, Reverend. Now you say, man, we almost got them there.
Guys, can we hit the hearts? Thank you very much.
They're at the cusp of being an adult, cusp of manhood. And you heard how Elmore was working so hard, him and Nolan, his football career. I mean, he had a good start, but this was really going to be his year. I mean, so much hope, so much promise. And then July 4th came. And 4th of July will never be the same to Christine and Elmore. And on the 19th, next Wednesday, his family, we're all asking for prayer for Nolan. I know there's going to be a prayer visual in Ocean Springs. I know Reverend Al is going to work to make sure we're all praying all across the nation. But y'all, let's pray. Can we pray together in unity to say, let's get to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells? Can we do that, America? Can we at least come together in unity on his birthday? Everybody who claimed to ever be a friend of his, can we come together in unity and pray for the truth and try to have love in our hearts for this family, for this brokenhearted mother and father, his sisters and brothers? Can we try to give them grace and give them love and pray for their humanity, for their son who was lost on 4th of July and is never coming back? Is that so much to ask? Let's have a national day of prayer on August 19th, next Wednesday, for Nolan Wells. And at this time, we hear from his mother and father, then Eric, and us will try to answer your questions.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for having us, for platforming our son's story. As many of you know, his 19th birthday is next Wednesday. And it's, as the days gets closer, it's definitely getting harder. That realization is really sinking in, that we don't have our son physically here anymore. And I think a lot of people have forgotten only thing we want to know is what happened. That's all we want to know is what happened to our son. Because many parents out there, you still have your children. You still can hug them. You still can call them. You still can celebrate their life with them. And we do not have that anymore. Our lives have forever changed. This new normal is something I would never wish on anyone, not even my worst enemy. The hurt that we feel daily, the conversations that we have to have, not just with each other, but also with our other children as they are grieving as well. So we ask that everyone, please, next Wednesday, join us in prayer. As for us as a family, but also too for everyone out there, but especially for Nolan and the process that we're going through. And again, we thank you so much.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who's constantly keeping our son's story in the forefront. You don't know how much we really appreciate that. Nolan brought light to our family. He was the fun in it. And with his birthday coming up, like my wife said, we have to deal with a new normal. Who knows what these years are going to bring, but we know that these years on August 19th is going to bring a lot of hurt, some laughter as we think about memories, but as far as our family, a very big piece will no longer be there. We just want the truth. We just want to know what any other parent would want to know. We're asking the questions any parent would ask. And if you feel that something's wrong with that, then that's a problem that you have to deal with. But as far as us and our family, we're just asking for truth, transparency, and to please keep us in your prayers. Next week is going to be a hard week, and the years follow are going to be hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christian and Elmore, it never gets easy, Reverend Al. And they're asking, I know Reverend Jamal Bryant is coming to Ocean Springs. Anybody who can come to Ocean Springs to be at the prayer vigil with them on a Wednesday evening at 7 p.m., please come. And if you can't come, please have prayer vigils in your city, in your communities. We need to find out what happened. Attorney Hurts, Attorney Parks, and Reverend Allen, as we're trying to answer your questions. The family, obviously, motion, they'll try to answer questions if they can. Any questions?
Yeah,
Hello, my name is Logan John, NABJ.
yeah, give us where you're calling, where you.
NABJ News.
Okay.
What do you believe accountability and justice for Nolan Wells should look like?
It's very simple. As we always say, if it was your child, what will accountability and justice look like? Well, that's the same thing they want for their child. Whatever it would be for your child, that's the same thing they want. Whatever investigation you would do for your child, that's the same investigation they want. We're not asking for anything special. We just want equal justice for our children too.
And I think that we must be very much emphasizing is they have said, again, here with the press conferences and statements they made throughout when they started at our headquarters in Harlem speaking to the press, they're not trying to come to a conclusion. The other side did, saying that there was no foul play. They're trying to tell us what happened. and we're gonna stand with them on that, and as well as other cases around the country. Yes, sir.
Ezekiel Telemacher with ABC 24. There's been a lot of misinformation and rumors spreading on social media. Is there anything that you guys would like to debunk that you've seen that has stood out to you?
Let me just say this. I went real.
Well, I mean, I think that social media has distorted a lot. I think for myself and Ben, we're public figures that you're gonna have social media lie on us every day. I don't even know if I'm really here according to social media. But what hurts us is the distortions they've done on the family, where they've harassed her in her job and sent stuff to their house. Distorted with the father's question. They didn't ask to be public figures. They only are trying to get justice for their son. So I would just say, whatever social media people are trying to get likes and hits and all, do that against people like me that offered ourselves public. They didn't ask for this. All they want is what happened to their son.
And I'll simply say this, because that question has come up, and I released a statement, and I want to be clear about it. We defend the First Amendment rights of content creators reporting on Nolan Wells' case. We stand with content creators, independent journalists, and citizens who are responsibly reporting on the Nolan Wells case and asking legitimate questions in pursuit of truth and accountability. The First Amendment protects robust public discussion on matters of public concern, and those protections are not reserved just for traditional media. We are deeply concerned when cease and desist letters, threatened lawsuits, or other legal pressure become tools to intimidate or silence lawful scrutiny.
Yes, sir.
There is an important difference between knowingly spreading false information and asking questions. Examining, I want to make sure I get it exactly.
Yes, sir. Drop an emoji for what he's saying. Independent journalist, guys. Let's go. Give us an emoji. Talk about it. Thank you, Uncommon.
There's an important difference between knowingly spreading false information and asking questions, examining evidence, identifying inconsistencies, expressing opinions, and demanding transparency. Reporting should not be silent. Reporting should not be silenced, and legitimate questions should not be met with intimidation.
Facts.
Those seeking truth and accountability in the Nolan Wells case have every right to continue asking questions and demanding answers.
Yes, sir.
Because we are America, and we have a right to the First Amendment that includes Black people and all people.
Home of the brave, America, folks. That's right.
Miss Clay Murray, Philadelphia Hall Monitor. My question is for Congressmember McBath. Has the formal request for the FBI from the Congressional Black Caucus been delivered to the FBI, and what deadline have you given them for a response?
We've actually we've actually written a letter, a formal letter, and it's already been executed. We've already sent it forth. We are giving them time to.
Hey, Hubert, I dropped the link. Go ahead and click on the link. Come on and join the show. Tell us how he drowned. Let's see what proof, what facts you have. We'd love to hear from you. Any of you guys that are talking about this drowning business, okay, we understand that, but come on the show. Let's talk about it. Show us the way. Show us that this is drowning. Obviously, you have some information. You have the toxicology. You have the final autopsy, right? Let's talk about it. Hit the link. Join the discussion. I'm here for you.
Respond. We did not give them a specific deadline, but we did say that we are expecting to have an answer as soon as we possibly can.
Attorney Crump, Ryan Young from CNN. Thank you to the family again for standing here and talking to us. There's been a lot about the meeting that you were supposed to have with the DA's office and the cooperation that they were supposed to be giving. Can you update us and tell us whether or not the family has had any contact with the DA's office? Are they talking?
Facts. I think they're insinuating that he drowned and the fish ate his organs. That's the only thing I can think of, right? Let's talk about it. Go ahead.
With you, have the investigators put their arms around you at all?
Attorney Eric Hertz and Attorney Parker.
I'm Eric Kurtz, law
Thank you, Fat.
firm Eric J. Hertz, PC, and I am heading the independent investigation in this case. I think the first thing, before I get to the exact question, is what's worse than losing a child? Probably nothing. But what makes it horrible is not knowing, and transparency is the key. So with us going into this case as doing an independent investigation, we first thank all the people on stage, all the people that have helped, and we thank you, the media. We have had much communication with the district attorney, and I feel that is confidential. We have cooperated, I can tell you that, and we just want to cooperate like anyone else would have to cooperate, and we're continuing to do that. It's a duty to our clients.
So just to address that specifically, you may already realize and already know, there was a meeting on July 15th in Mississippi with the DA's office. At that meeting, there were several things discussed about the investigation regarding Nolan Wells and what happened to him. In that meeting, there were several things that were set out and agreed to, and we expect the DA, as well as our own team, to follow those agreements.
Yes, sir.
And it's Greg Dunmore from Post Beat Media out of Detroit, the ABC sister station TV 20. Evil prevails when good men and women remain silent when the facts come out, and they will come out. If it indicates that something sinister did not happen, and it was a freak accident.
Just to be clear, we're not here to talk about Chicago. Obviously, we know what happens. Today, we're talking about Nolan Wells, and I need you to pay attention and stop with the silly comments. Get focused on what's important, and that's the name of Nolan Wells here today.
Will you believe that the truth is still not being revealed? Because if the truth is not going to indicate on some level that something sinister was done, would you not believe it to be something else if the truth is that it was not?
The truth comes out,
Yes.
and it's clear, then we will accept the truth. That's all we're asking for. And we only have said that the people that are attacking them for raising the question of the truth say the same thing. I think that we've leaned over backwards in every press event, at the funeral, me doing the eulogy, saying we weren't going to prejudge. Yet they keep getting lambasted. Imagine this. You're losing your child and you're being attacked for asking what happened. I mean, why are they under attack for asking for the truth? So it's not about us accepting, it's about whether or not those involved can accept. Yeah.
Hello, Empress and Sophies.
Well, they always try to shut us all out. We're not these silence.
What is that noise, by the way? Anybody know?
Yeah, it's on.
Yes, Nehemiah Franklin.
Don't move the mic.
Okay. Try this again. Okay. Yes, Nehemiah Frank with the Black Wall Street Times out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Condolences to you both. My question is for Mr. Wansley. When you went to Jack's house and he used the past tense and literally said to you, from what you've told us, the media, that the brother, or that he said that Nolan was like a brother a day before the body actually washed up, was that like alarm? Did it send any alarm bells for you at all?
put yourself in a
For those of you that are asking if this is current, this just happened right now today. I don't play old press conferences, all right? And we're going to cover the second part of this next. This is today, all right?
father's shoes and you just found out that your child is missing. The only thing you want to know is where he is. Trying to go back and think about specific words at that moment, I wasn't thinking about that. My mind and my focus was finding my whereabouts of my son.
Hey, Tom Jones, reporter with WSB TV here in Atlanta. I keep hearing about this young lady that Nolan left with. Has anybody managed to find her or talk to her?
I think that what we're trying to carefully do is not impugn the investigation. So a lot of what may and may not have happened in terms of the dialogue with the lawyers and the family would not be prudent to
Hello, Mama Flips. We'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. sharp. Great to see you.
testify on WSB Atlanta.
Hi, my name is Jahara Wilson. I'm with Blavity.
Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe as we get more light. And on Nolan Wells' case, hit the heart buttons, especially if you're in the landscape, the horizontal feed. Make sure you hit the hearts. Thank you.
You're calling on the Department of Justice to open an independent federal review of Nolan's death. What do you believe federal investigators could uncover that local and state authorities?
Let me clarify also, Congresswoman, want to get some clarity.
Also, I do want to clarify that we've given them 7 days to respond. It was 7 days. So I'm sorry about that.
What, your question was, what do we hope to get from them, the federal investigation? What anybody will hope. We are taxpayers too. It's the federal resources that can offer resources to help investigate the matter thoroughly. And so Nolan was
Thank you, Cheryl.
not only Christine and Elmo's child, but when you think about it in a philosophical way, he was all of our children. But by the grace of God, it could be our child next. And as American citizens, we have the absolute right to say our federal government should extend resources for our children like they will extend to everybody else. I would never forget when President Obama, with Reverend Al and I, when Trayvon Martin was unalive, and he said that it's important that we extend all of the resources of the federal government to help this family get to answers of the truth. And that's all you would want if it was your child. That's all they want if their child. Every resource available, help us get to the truth.
And let me say that and answer that. It's important that you understand that when we raise these issues, that's all what we wanted. We raised the issue.
Thank you, Alex Lane.
I was out front. Ben was the attorney with Trayvon Martin. And we finally got George Zimmerman in court. When the jury said not guilty, we said we disagreed, but we didn't go and attack his parents. We didn't go and chase him down. We accepted that. When we had the killing in Missouri with
Word up, Matt.
Michael Brown, and President Obama was president, we asked for the federal government to come in there. Eric Holder and them investigated the case and said there was no federal case that they could bring. We accepted that. So don't act like we don't accept it. We accepted when Michael Brown's case didn't go federal. We accept things when they're fair, but we want them to be fair. That's why I said, as the congressman said, they're giving them 7 days. The FBI come back either way, but we want it reviewed by the Congress at some point. I'm on my way tomorrow to Madison, Wisconsin, to deal with Ruiz shot on camera. Well, man, there's a...
Guys, I'm headed to Dallas, McKinney, to cover Carmelo Anthony's hearings next week. I plan to go to Mississippi, to Horn Island en route. Thank you.
Company trying to get a contract that is in business with ICE. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. We look at it from a civil rights point of view. They're dealing with it from their son. This is fresh blood.
Yes, ma'am. Susanna Capaluca with NPR. Has the DA said anything to your attorneys regarding the joint investigation of the cell phone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry, has the DA said anything, given any guidance on the joint investigation of the cell phone?
I believe Mama Flips will be joining too.
We are in constant communication, and just like anything, like to address the gentleman sitting next to you. What was your name again?
Oh,
Greg. Yeah, you get 2 shots. Yeah.
this is Greg Dunmore.
Okay. Just to address Greg's question, you know, the truth has to be proven and shown with the methodology, the way they came about. Someone just can't come out and say, hey, you know, I have a Ferrari, and then you believe they have a Ferrari. I don't have a Ferrari. The truth has to be shown. You got to bring them to your garage, show them the title. That's the truth. And yes, we will accept the truth. So the same way with what the young lady sitting next to you is saying, which is we have procedures that the courts require that we as lawyers ethically have to follow in order to turn over evidence. There's chains of custody.
Guys, all you have to do is hit the link in the horizontal feed. There's 2 feeds going right now, the vertical and the horizontal. The vertical is for cell phones. The horizontal is for laptops and your television. Click on that link and join the conversation. I see people pushing back. Let's talk about it. I extended an invitation to Officer Tatum to discuss this case at a high level. I think I'm very versed when it comes to the facts. I've looked at most of the information. So whoever want to talk about it, bring it on. I'm right here. I'm right now. And I don't plan on going away. I'll talk to the family. I'll talk to the boys. I'll talk to the attorneys. I'll talk to the apostles. Whoever you put before me, let's go.
There's protected private information. And
I ain't never scared. Let's go.
we are willing, in fact, today, I'm not doing anything the rest of the day, to meet with the FBI and our person, our expert, to go over that phone. And we've made that clear. So we're ready to do that at any moment.
We just want to say one last point on that.
I'm going to back up a little bit. So just to clarify, what the agreement was that the DA's office,
Guys, we don't push race over here at Watching the World. We welcome everybody equally, right? So that's very important that you factor that in. We welcome everyone. We push facts and we try to follow the truth. I've made it very clear. Right now, as it stands, as of 4:30 p.m., according to Warren, that was the last time that anyone really saw Nolan Wells. After 4:30, we do not have any, you understand me very clearly what I'm saying to you. We don't have any type of proof that Nolan Wells was on the island. In fact, Javon came back. He said he was only gone for like 30 minutes. He came back to the island. No Nolan. Okay, what about the girl? Last night I showed you guys that, number one, when the police report was given, and I broke down that police report, I showed you, they didn't mention Katie as being a girl that was with Nolan. They said Nolan was with a different girl. It's right there on the police report, right? Katie is not even mentioned. All of a sudden now we hear about Katie as being a girl that Nolan was allegedly hugged up with, okay? Well, guess what Katie said according to the New York Post? Katie, by means of her sister Gracie, says, listen, we thought that he was getting back on the boat with his friends. So, okay, so now we have Javon, we have Katie. And then the coach says that he spoke to Nolan around 3 p.m. Nolan didn't appear to be disoriented in any way. The coach was there. He did not see Nolan after 4:30. The only type of sighting that we have in regards to Nolan Wells was at 4:50. And I showed you that photo of individual in the blue shorts. Well, guess what? We dismantled that concept, right? We showed you that that wasn't perhaps even a male at all. It appeared to be a female, right? We reserved the information to come out to identify who the person was. But it looks like this individual they're saying was Nolan had on a bikini top. Why would Nolan have on a bikini top? Knock it off. Okay. So then last night on Nancy Grace, we have the attorneys. They've come forward and we welcome that information. They say 2 witnesses, two witnesses have placed Nolan on the island at 6 p.m. But when you listen to Nancy Grace breakdown and how she was actually pushing back on those two attorneys, it really still puts those two sightings of Nolan into question. And quite frankly, I'm here to tell you I'm not the spokesman for any particular group, but I will tell you, unless we have photos with metadata, video with metadata, and we're even going to question that too, but until we have some solid information, right? People are going to have a hard time processing any eyewitness testimony because of the nature of this case. You follow? So right now, 4:30 would be the last known time for Nolan. Now, I want to clear this up before we get back to this press conference. This is very important. At 4:30, they left the island on the Triton boat. They also left on Bart's boat. Okay, so there's two boats going. Warren says that the Palm Beach left with three guys. Now, I want to take you guys back to last night to the police report that I went over so nicely. When they give us that police report, they do not mention the Palm Beach. It's as though the Palm Beach was not even there that day. So you mean to tell me we have a police report that doesn't mention the third boat, the Palm Beach? See, here's the key that we're looking at, right? I have an attorney, Wayne, that's in the chat. This channel has a lot of attorneys. Can't wait to have Wayne on the show. But here's the point I want you to keep in mind. You had three boats. We have the reports of the GPS, right? The GPS shows us where the boats went. Okay, we're not accusing anybody of anything. We're just following the information. The GPS shows us where the Triton went, but I showed you last night in the police report, they maybe mistakenly, instead of showing us the GPS report for Bart's boat, which was the tide line, but actually on the police report, they call it the Tide Craft. Okay, it was the black boat. We don't have the GPS for Bart's boat. That's very important. We need to know where Bart's boat went after he towed them out about a quarter of a mile, according to Warren. Okay. But here's the thing. The third boat that left, called the Palm Beach, right? The one that Warren has yet to tell us who was the pilot, who was actually driving that boat that day. That boat left. And according to Warren, when the boat came from the dock to Horn Island, it had four individuals. When it left, it only had three. Well, who was the fourth guy that did not go back on the Palm Beach? Who's that masked man? Who's that fourth guy? You see, Warren said he rode in on Bart's boat from the dock that morning to Horn Island. Okay, that's very important. So, when you listen to all of these interviews, you saw the interview that Officer Tatum did recently with the three guys along with the attorney. Notice who's not there. The attorney says these three guys didn't do a thing, right? Now, that's not to insinuate that the other guys did something, but notice that the guys who were the captain of each boat, they're nowhere to be found. And these are the individuals we would really like to hear from, right? We want to hear from Wyatt. We'd like to hear from Bart. Okay. Now, we do understand they have attorneys. That might be the reason why they're not speaking up. Maybe there's other litigation coming down the pipeline and they're just playing it safe. Okay. Not imputing bad motives to these individuals, but we're asking these questions. But here's the point that I just want to point out. Warren clearly says they left at 4:30. This is where most people are so confused. A lot of people think that that call to Cito happened at 3:48. It actually happened at 4:48. And it makes sense. They were towed out at 4:30, right? According to Warren, they were towed a quarter of a mile. Anybody that follows this channel, you know this. You probably could articulate it better than myself. But 4:30 they leave. They're towed out a quarter of a mile. The GPS said they were towed out 2.75 miles, and that's when that call went out to Cito. that was at 4:48. You see how the timeline is matching up? So, based on that, the last time we have any indication, now we reserve the right to wait to find out more about the audio, but according to the audio, that would be the last time that anyone has heard the name of Nolan in regards to all of the intel that we took in from that day. Would be the audio that a lot of people are debating the contents that are in the background are people saying, Nolan, Nolan, is he dead? Check his chest. These are some of the things that people claim they hear in the background. And quite frankly, as I said at the beginning of this show, we don't need an enhanced audio. Remember, we listened to it carefully with all the music in the background, the hold music. You can still hear Nolan's name. Okay? As much as you sit there and you say, oh no, we don't hear anything. It's just chatter. It's the wind blowing. It's fish jumping out of the water, right? It's people passing gas. As much as you might say you're hearing weird things of that nature, those of us that hear things, we hear what we hear. And we're not going to allow anyone to gaslight us to think we're crazy. But the question is, we just want to know what happened to Nolan. And it appears that the audio around 4:48 would probably be the last time that we could actually say we're hearing something about Nolan. So that's important for the timeline because now they're saying that audio could not be legitimate. You know why? Because Nolan was seen on the island at 6:00 p.m. by two individuals, right? We're going to listen in to what the attorneys told Nancy Grace in a minute. But let's finish out this press conference. And I thank you guys. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. We will be covering this case extensively. Yes, indeed.
The Jackson County DA's office, as well as our forensic team, and possibly the FBI, we're going to together download and examine the phone. So it's done one time with everybody together, right? This is very common in the law. I mean, what you all may be more.
See, they want to do it with the FBI. That's smart. See, now we understand because the media, they run with the narrative. Oh, bad mother, slap her hand. You don't want to give over the phone from your son? Bad mommy, right? But see, they have a strategy here to have this phone handed over to the FBI that would be more legitimate, perhaps they think, to get to the bottom of this information.
Used to is when there's a terrible car accident and then there's an examination of that car and everybody comes together one time. They don't move that car around and everybody does their own thing. This is what is supposed to happen. We are waiting for the DA to determine the time, the place, the date. Let us know, and we are going to be there with our forensics team and anybody else, but it's done one time, one examination. We're ready for it to happen.
Julie Walker, Associated Press. Can you give us a sort of a timeline of what's next going forward, including any possible lawsuits that would be filed, not against you, as you had mentioned before, but that you would be filing? And then the completion of the independent autopsy and how that's moving along and anything else that would be moving forward. And I know you had mentioned you wanted that national day. Other than that, anything in the future?
Well, we want to make sure people understand we're going to follow the truth wherever it leads us. There's been a lot made about we want to come and bring some lawsuit. When Christina Elmore called me, we weren't thinking about bringing a lawsuit. We were thinking about just helping them get to the truth. That is a vehicle that we can use to get to the truth if the facts tell us that. We send out preservation letters and everybody said, oh, they're going to sue them. No, we send out preservation letters to preserve the evidence.
I want to make it very clear. I do not agree with Ben Crump 100% on everything. Let's get it clear, right? But what I will say this, if information came out to show that Nolan Wells was on the island after 4:30, I'm going to bring that to you. I'll be the first to show you, just like I've shown you many different points about this case, I'm going to say, listen, this clearly shows that Nolan was right here. And look at this. This is his shorts. We have the metadata, right? I will gladly show you this information. This is not like a one-sided thing. We want to know the truth. In fact, if that information comes out, I think people will calm down a bit and say, okay, now we need to understand how he potentially drowned, right? So let's just be clear. We're not one-sided. This is not about a color. This is about trying to get to the facts of the matter.
And in those standard letters, you say litigation is reasonably anticipated to say, don't get rid of the evidence. We're on record that we want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that's what's going to lead us in what we do. It's about the evidence, nothing else. And this family has always said from day one, even when
in fact, we have some people in the audience that are pushing back. I invited you guys to come on the show. Feel free, instead of typing, come and talk to me. I'm right here, willing and able to talk to you. And I'm willing to concede on any points that you can just show us the facts. In fact, if you do have information showing that Nolan was on the island after 4:30 or beyond 4:48, 4:50 when that audio is timed, okay, let's show us. You have an audience here. Word travels quickly. Let's get to it and show people, listen, Nolan was actually on the island at 6 o'clock, all right? I don't want to hear this scenario. 2 people saw him at 6 p.m. Well, who are these 2 people? Well, they're anonymous because people are going to threaten them. We don't want to buy that. I don't want to hear it. I want to see some type of proof or hear something that we can hang our hats on. All right, let's get to it. If you have the information, come on up now. I don't care who you are or how grandiose you think you are. Come up and let's talk about it.
I called Reverend Allen, we talked to him. They have been consistent. We want to know what happened to our child. Everything else is just, it's just clickbait and everything. It's about what happened to our child. Black Press, NABJ, we need you now more than ever to keep everybody focused. What happened to this 18-year-old Black teenager in Mississippi? Because there have been questions when you look at the history of the Deep South where young Black people are unalive and nobody ever gets any answers. Well, we want Nolan Wells not to be like many others that came before him.
And that is why, as I said earlier, August 28th, the anniversary of Dr. King's March, Martin III and I we were doing a huge march in Washington, Lincoln Memorial. This will be highlighted in other cases because these things keep happening.
So if you listen to what they said, the mother wants to release the phone to the FBI with them present, right? Because obviously there's so much division going on with the local authorities and the family. So that makes sense, right? It makes clear sense.
And to protect the right to vote. So we intend to stay out on the battlefield as long as necessary. Yes.
And I'd ask about the independent also.
We understand that Dr. Roger.
By the way, guys, I think some of these individuals are bots, and I'm pretty sure you understand in this day and time what bots are. So that's why when I invite them to come up and have a discussion, I don't get individuals showing up to state your claim. Give us an argument beyond antagonizing the individuals in the chat.
Mitchell is made himself available at any point that the district attorney's office and the medical examiner will allow him to come. He's ready, willing, and able to go do it.
Thanks with NABJ News. You mentioned just now that multiple cases have happened like this that are similar. What do you think about this case in particular being called race politics?
About this case in particular, what?
Being considered race politics.
I think that the race politics of this case has been the reaction. I think that we're not predetermining that the case was racial. We're determining that the answer, the investigation, has been racially divided. And that's what made it racist. Yeah, I
You
take.
see, here's the thing I want you guys to keep in mind. I noticed when the young men were on Officer Tatum's platform, I was so excited. I said, oh my, finally they get to explain what the chatter, what are these words in the background. I thought Officer Tatum would say, people are saying, a guy says, oh shit, Nolan, is that, who said that? You know, I thought he would ask these guys, who said that? Or what about the girl that says, is he dead, right? I thought he would ask, what are they talking about? Are they talking about the bilge pump? Are they talking about the motor? Are they talking about a fish? Maybe a fish flew on the boat. And the girl says, oh, is he dead? You know, give us something, give us some sort of explanation. But guess what? We did not get those type of questions. It's almost like the questions that are being asked are, you know, they're telegraphed in a way, not real journalism to ask the question. See, once they explain, maybe there's a real reason as to the noise in the background or the words, right? Because some of these words are clear. And again, we don't need an enhancement. I'd say throw all the enhancements out and use your own ears and your own brain along with your earphones. I think you could come to a reasonable conclusion about what you're hearing, enough to know, right? Because here's the key to this. Nolan was left behind on the island, according to what Warren said, right? Here's another thing I would like to know. Warren says his friend says, Nolan, get on the boat. Nolan, get the F on the boat, right? Who was that friend? I was hoping that one of those three guys would say, hey, you know, when Warren says the friend was telling Nolan, get the F on the boat, Nolan, get the F on the boat. That was me. See, I thought that would happen too. We didn't get that yet, right? So I just want to know, why didn't Officer Tatum ask those questions just to help us understand? Listen, maybe when they're saying check his chest, right? Check his chest. Maybe they're talking about a fish. I don't know. Maybe they're talking about a chest of gold and silver. Maybe they're pirates. I don't know. But maybe they could have given us an explanation to say, yeah, we had a chest of gold there and we were checking out the chest of gold. You see how that works? Now we say, okay, we're dealing with pirates. Oh, it makes sense. Okay, let's keep going. Thank you guys very much. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe.
Two more. This is a press conference, not a revival. We're not gonna be here all afternoon.
Yes, sir. Not also to be a loud voice. In particular, piggyback on what President Trump said, is it the fact that this happened in Mississippi why it seems to be so difficult to get answers in regards to the young black man's death?
Did you say Trump or rather than Crump? I'm just trying to. Yeah, we're praying for you at the prayer meeting.
I want to keep an open mind. I know there have been several attacks on us just for asking questions, and it's okay. I mean, when you think about Mississippi, they attacked all my heroes. The governor's predecessors, they attacked, Ida B. Wells, Medgar Evers, my personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, Dr. Martin Luther King, for saying that we're going to stand up for Black life and Black humanity and the right to Black people to have the Constitution applied to them as American citizens. So I'm unapologetic in my defense of Black life, Black liberty, and Black humanity. God has a calling on all our lives. And when you figure out what that calling is, you don't second guess it. You say, God, I know why I put on this earth, to be there, to stand up for our people in times when they have nobody else to stand up for them. And so whether it's Mississippi or anywhere else in the deep South, or as Malcolm X said, I heard they discriminate against Black people in the South. He said, I guess my definition of the South would be anything beneath the Canadian border, because last time I checked, they discriminate against Black people all across America. And so what we're saying is we are open-minded. We want to trust them, but we can't be naive. We have to verify everything, as Attorney Hurt said. Whatever conclusions you come to, we want the methodology. Whatever investigation you're doing, we want to know that it's the same investigation that you would do with your child, not treat Nolan any differently. That's what we're trying to do. That's all we're asking.
All right, we're gonna take one more and then we have to take the family out. Jesse Jackson Jr., who has his own radio show.
I represent KDLA today. Let me ask you a question, Reverend Sharpton, Reverend Trump, and even the Congresswoman. Nolan Wells's body was found on federal territory, Horn Island, run by the National Park Service. Are you aware of any
Shout out to you, Jack Palmieri Law. Thank you very much for your support.
death investigation opened up by the National Park Service into his death on federal land? First question, actually two parts. There have been 7 arrests made for the swimming pool, also run by the National Park Service. Why the disparity between arrests over the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial and 0 arrests, subpoenas regarding the National Park Service in the case of Nolan Wells?
The answer, and I have the lawyer's answer, is that is why we raised it, thanks to the CBC and Congresswoman, to a federal level, because the federal government has to answer those questions of involvement, because Horn Island is federal property. And while they can have a grand jury indict around the reflection pool, then announce they're pulling back the charges, now have with a new special grand jury. They done went to a pool twice and haven't come to Horn Island one time, and it was federal property. So I think that the contradiction there is why we keep raising the question.
And also too,
Guys, I want to take these. We have 2 attorneys here today. Let's see. Jack says, I agree the FBI needs to be brought in to take over the investigation. Go check out his channel. We're doing some great work together. Has an amazing platform. We also have Wayne Norman here says, for anyone who thinks the CTO call is fake or unreliable, it can actually be verified. The chain of custody can be confirmed and is admissible under Mississippi's one-party consent laws. All right. So thank you for the attorneys that are tuning in today and supporting Watching the World. I look forward to having you guys on the show and building.
as a matter of record, being in Congress, there is federal oversight. And I sit on Judiciary Committee in Congress. We also have the Senate Judiciary Committee. And oftentimes there are a lot of these.
Also, guys, we have 3 judges here today. I don't know if I want to push to the limits and state the names. But anyway, this is primarily a legal-based type of channel, so it makes sense. It's nice to have this type of a community. Last night we had a law professor on. This is so amazing that every other day we're having amazing people that know the law, but also perform at a high level.
These kinds of investigations that come before us because we have the authority for oversight. So since this is considered, at this point, would be considered something of national federal interest, that is the reason why we're asking for the accountability to make sure that this is not just swept under the rug.
And I'll say in conclusion, thank you to the media. Now more than ever, the 4th branch of government, we need you. NABJ, we need you now more than ever. We're talking about Nolan Wells, but remember, there were 2 other 18-year-old Black teenagers who were unalived in highly questionable situations. Tyler Smith and David Irvin. And we need to be talking about these children.
At this point, anyone is welcome to come on the show and state your claim, whether you're for or against, whatever you want to say. If you want to tell us that it feels nice outside, whatever you want to talk about, come on the show. I'll give you a minute to state your claim and we can go from there. Now is your time. Thank you so much for tuning in to Watching the World. We try to perform and talk about these cases. We try to remain neutral because we're probably 50-50 Democrat, Republican, and those in between. All right. So we're not slanted one way. OK, it's very important that you understand that because we try to have a meeting of the minds, because we know that iron sharpens iron. But also, when you add a crucible to the situation, even if you thought you made a great dish, perhaps Sophie's and Deborah, also Empress in New Jersey, and they're making something and they put all the ingredients in the bowl. It's not until you apply the heat, the crucible, that you understand what you truly are making. And sometimes we have our lives we're trying to live. It's not until we go through hard times that we start to realize what we're made out of, right? We know the females are made out of, we're taught the amazing things of life. But when it comes to sometimes from the man perspective, right? A lot of times too, we have to go through some major struggles, right? And also, and many times we have to lead the way throughout those struggles while the heat is on, right? People don't quite understand that as much as they should. But thank you guys for being supportive.
You know, the young lady, Alyssa Hackett, who was, I mean, brutalized by a state trooper and who cursed her. I mean, she's a tiny black teenager. And, you know, Reverend Allen, as we were looking at the video, as a girl dad, I mean, if a police officer can't have an interaction with a black teenage girl without body slamming her, cursing her, and punching her in the face, what does that say about where we're at in America in 2026? This is about covering those stories, even when people who may run your news outlets don't want you to cover the stories. We need you to give us a voice in the tradition of Ida B. Wells. We can't have the police just.
Here's one of the best questions I've seen in a long time. Purple Groovy always has an amazing way with words. Says, why couldn't the coroners collaborate with each other to bring more clarity and transparency to the investigation? Thank you for that great question.
Writing the narratives and the reports. We need you all writing those narrative reports. And you got to challenge your white counterparts and say it. Ida B. Wells said famously, Reverend Al, the killers write the police reports. No, we need NABJ to write the reports and the narratives. Thank you.
Okay, so there you have it. In accordance to the press release that they had today. Now we're going to go to another segment of this whole press conference. We're going to break it down. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. This will be about 30 minutes, so I look forward to going over this with you as well. Again, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Let me pull this up so we don't waste any time before the show actually starts here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to play this. And again, I want to ask you guys to try to be peaceable in the chat. Try not to ruin somebody else's day just because maybe you stumped your toe earlier this morning. You know, don't take that out on our dear watchers who are just trying to tune in and have a good day together, trying to understand more in regards to Nolan Wells. All right. I don't mind you guys giving me a hard time, but when it comes to the people in the audience, just trying to live and let live, I often wonder what's wrong with folks. Okay. So let's see if we can get this playing here. And again, thank you very much. Okay, we need some time yet. Let's see what the issue is. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get this to play. This is the other segment of the press conference, and then we'll be out of here until tonight when we have Mama Flips on the show tonight. We look forward to having her on to talk about Nolan Wells and a few other points we'll get into. Next week, we'll be covering Carmelo Anthony, boots on the ground. So much in store for you guys. And also, we're covering Luigi Mangione, too.
Us know something. And the question we're pondering is, what happened to Nolan Wells? On Friday, July 3rd, the 18-year-old, who would have turned 19 just a little under a week from today, made dinner for his family that evening and he spent the night with friends. On Saturday, July 4th, just before 10 a.m., Nolan set out for Horn Island. Now, Horn Island is a barrier island about 10 miles off the coast of Mississippi. It's a popular hangout spot, big with boaters. About an hour and 20 minutes later, the boat with Nolan and his friends arrived at Horn Island. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office says that Nolan was seen there around 3 that afternoon. At 5:44 that evening, records show that the boat that carried Nolan to Horn Island made it back to the mainland. Again, that was 5:44. We're talking just over 2 hours. Now, his family reported him missing around 11 that night, and this was after one of his traveling companions called the family, alerting his mother. By Sunday, Nolan's family is, of course, understandably frantic. They're retracing his steps, they're posting online, as we often have to do with missing Black children. What happened to Nolan Wells? Well, by Monday, July 6th, the news that Nolan's family feared the most, the remains of Nolan Wells had been recovered on the shore of Horn Island. What happened to this boy? NABJ, I want to bring to the stage 2 people who want answers to that question more than anyone. His mother and father, Christine Wells Wansley and Elmore Wansley, joins the stage now. We'll sit there and there. And they are joined by civil rights attorney Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton. Thank you all for being here. I know you've been on a whirlwind. I know you've been traveling a lot. So thank you all. And I know you all have other challenges happening around the country that you'll be getting to after this. But I am we are all so honored to meet you. And we are so saddened that we are connecting with you under these circumstances.
Could the guys in the horizontal feed, can they please hit the hearts, please? Thank you guys. Also in the vertical, but it would help a lot today with YouTube.
You know, I want to tell you, they asked me to call them Christine and Elmore. I want to say Mr. and Mrs. Wansley, but Christine and Elmore. I want to tell you, in the audience in this room, but also watching at home, are thousands of Black journalists. But in addition to
Thank you guys already. I see it. Thanks.
being Black journalists, these are mothers and fathers, siblings, cousins, aunts and uncles of Black children. And we see your humanity. And we're going to center that in this conversation. There you go. Here. I told Christine, if we cry on this stage, it's okay, because we're among family.
Amen.
So you take your time. Christine, I'm going to start with you. On Friday, July 3rd, Nolan made you dinner. And so as you're telling us about the last time you saw your baby boy, I want you to talk to us about who Nolan was and tell us about that day.
So Nolan.
This is hard to hear for me too. I'm not sure. It's probably a system thing. Let's pause for 1 second. Let me see if I can get this to play louder. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Let's see. I think it's based on how they recorded it. I'm so sorry about this. Yeah, I don't think we can get it louder. Sorry.
Is and was an incredible, just incredible soul. He was the person who, no matter where you were in life, what was going on, he was going to be your biggest cheerleader. And I can attest to that because after COVID, my sister was like, oh, you should do social media. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do social media. I like to just watch others. And then Nolan was like, no, Mom, you should do it. I'll help you with the videos. I got you. And, you know, just anytime I was like, oh, I just really don't want to do this anymore, Nolan was like, no, Mama, you haven't posted today. And I'm like, I don't want to post. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the kind of person
Hey, Wayne, thanks for being here. I really do appreciate you.
he was. He was God-fearing, God-loving. That boy had faith beyond measure. He was just a bright light. And he was our bright light. As far as that day goes, went to work, and he was making salmon. So he was FaceTiming me as I'm trying to see patients kind of in between, of course, not answering the phone.
Deborah, he was making salmon. What do you think about that?
In the room, and he's like, hey, Mama, how does this look? Is this enough season? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I was like, okay. I was like, you know, you don't have to do that. And he's like, no, you know, I'm going to take care of it. I was like, okay, sure. And so he finishes cooking, get home. He's like, yeah, what you know about this? And he was, guys, when I tell you, he loved to joke.
It's great to have you here, David.
Like, he was just one of those people. He wanted everyone around him to smile, be happy, feel comfortable and accepted. And that is the kind of person God made him. You know, us as parents, we definitely had that influence, but Nolan was just naturally a peacemaker. Yeah. And so, yeah, after that, it was, you know, 8, and then he got ready to go. He did his normal, hugged us up. I love you, Mom. I was like, you know, be safe, knowing this was going to be his last weekend before going back to school, because football was starting, the summer training was starting. And this was his second year at Southwest. And so we knew this was going to be a big year for him. Dad and him had been training and doing all these things, and really just kind of sitting with him and letting him know, like, hey, you know, we're going to the next stage in your life as well as, you know, your football career. So the focus was there, and he was ready.
So he leaves that day.
He leaves that day with, he drives his car. And he told us kind of a general, like, hey, you know, we're going to go to the island. Like, we knew that, staying at Jack's house. And Jax was a friend I think we've met in passing before. And that's the thing, you know, I always say there's a difference in meeting someone, knowing of someone, and then knowing someone. Knowing implies that we've sat down, we've had discussions about your hopes, your dreams, you know, knowing you, okay, hey, he stayed the night at my house, which Wyatt, one of his friends, he had stayed at our house a couple of times. And then Jax, again, that was one I just maybe saw in passing a few times. There was only a handful of young men that we actually knew, like, he grew up with. And when I say grew up, I'm saying from like first grade, they've known each other all through high school now that they're graduated. And that would be like Jalen and Javon, LeBaron. Those are kids that we knew. So it's just, it's been hard seeing all this kind of play out.
Yeah.
And, you know, these are people that he considered friends.
Yes. Dad, I want to ask you, because it was Warren Hudson, one of the people that he traveled with, who called to alert you all that Nolan was missing.
Yes.
So we know at 5:44, the boat returns, Nolan is not there. At 11 p.m., he calls to say Nolan is missing. I wonder if either of you, whoever wants to answer, what happened in those few hours that prompted Warren to be concerned?
I'm not quite sure what would prompt him to be concerned, but all I can say is what I did that day. So me and my sister, we made an order of pancit, which is a Filipino noodle dish for one of our friends. They were having a big family get-together, and we really didn't have anything planned for the 4th.
So they made a Filipino dish. Okay. Never heard of that dish before.
My sister are, you know, cleaning up, and this is about 8. And she's like, hey, you know, no one hasn't texted us. Like, and that was the thing. No one was really big with communication with us, right? And so I call him, doesn't answer. I end the call. called back, and this is probably, I think, maybe around 8. Don't quote me on the times, guys. So then I call
No, this is actually an event held this morning. All right.
again later around 8, still no answer. And then I want to say I called one more time, and I think that was at like 10:48. So I'm in the kitchen, my phone rings. Now this is probably like early 11 o'clock, somewhere around there. Phone rings when I make it back to the phone, and I'm like, whose number is this? Because, you know, we get weird phone calls sometimes. They didn't leave a message. Number pops back up. I pick up the phone because it says maybe Warren. And I'm like, Warren? So this is 11:07. That's per my cell phone records. So I answer the phone, and he's like, hey, Miss Christine, have you seen or talked to Nolan? I said, no. Why? He should be with you guys. And he said, oh.
Are you guys taking notes on your white sheet of paper so you can compare different stories along the way, right? 11:07, that's when the call came in. I don't think we knew that exactly before today.
Oh, no, well, you know, when we went to the island, there was a girl named Katie that he met, and he had decided to stay behind. And I said, what? Because we know our child. And Nolan isn't one to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to stay here.
All right, here's a key point. Sorry to bother you guys, but this is a very important point from last night. So at 11:07, Warren tells the mother about Katie. But in that police report that I went over last night that was taken immediately too, they don't mention Katie. They mention another girl. I won't give you her name because she's not heavy in the media. But that girl proceeded to say, hey, I was at Petty Boy Island. I wasn't even at Horn Island. I haven't even seen Nolan in a whole year. Okay, over a year. So you see how we have this immediately a discrepancy here. The mother's told Katie, but Katie doesn't go into the police report. She's not, that would have been a key ingredient to the police report.
Here with this girl that I just met. So I'm on the phone with him. Now I'm in a panic. I'm running into my room. Elmore was in bed watching a different movie, and I'm like frantic. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, no one is missing. I'm trying to pull up the GPS as I'm talking to him. And at some point, he tells me that.
Okay, so you guys can't hear them at all? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear, because if we can't hear at all, I'll try to find a different stream perhaps of this. So let me just see if you can hear this audio. Put a 1 in the chat. If you can't hear it, put a 2. Let's get to the bottom of this. Okay, so some people can hear it, but okay, so for the most part, everybody can hear it. It's just low, right? I can't get the volume up. Give me 1 quick second, guys. I want to see something real quick. I want to see if I can do you guys a solid. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find, let's see. Give me 1 second. Let me see if we could find a better version of this today. I don't think we're going to be successful, but I'm going to try it here. Let's see. I'll let this play in the meanwhile. Let's see.
I was like, well, you know, his phone says GPS Life 360, not Snapchat.
Right.
Life 360 says that he's on land. And he was like, well, no, I mean, you know, well, we have his phone. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, okay. Because at that point, you're telling me, this is coming from Warren, don't worry about it. We're going to find him. It's going to be okay. Don't tell me not to worry. This is my child, my flesh and blood that I brought into this world. And you're telling me not to worry. Absolutely not. So then it was after the phone call ended, of course, asking him for information. What was he wearing? He was like, last seen, Northwest tip, black shorts, sunglasses. That's important. So I end up calling DMR, spoke with the DMR. She took all
Just
the
for our audience, DMR.
So DMR is because he went missing on the island. They are basically the marine people, right? They're the ones who's going to launch the boats to go into the water and all that. But before getting off the phone with Warren, he was like, "Hey, I know some people at Coast Guard." I said, "Okay." He's like, "I'm gonna call Coast Guard. You call DMR." Get on the phone with DMR. I give the young lady the information, and she tells me, "Hey, I got this. Let me call you back," because she was like, "I'm not sure if this is going to be in our jurisdiction," essentially. So then she calls back and she tells me, "Okay, yeah, we spoke with Coast Guard." And I'm like, "Okay," but they're like, "This isn't our jurisdiction. You have to contact the city of Ocean Springs." I said, "Okay." Hang up the phone, call in Ocean Springs Police Department. They say, "Hey, you have to physically come down and give a report." I said, "Okay." So on our way, because we don't live that far from the police station, on our way there, I was like, "Well, let me stop by the hospital," because there's a hospital that's maybe 5 minutes up the road from our house. Stop by there. I'm like, "Hey, have you guys seen this kid? Has he been brought in?" The lady's like, "No, ma'am, we hadn't." I said, "Okay, thank you." Run out. We go to the police department. Get to the police station, and the officer basically says, "Again, this is out of our jurisdiction." And at that point, I'm like, "My God, who am I supposed to talk to? Who is supposed to help me with this?" So then he said, "It's going to be, you would have to call DMR." I was like, "We've already called DMR. DMR said it's not in their jurisdiction." So
I'm sorry, guys. I can't find a different recording. I'll try to publish this differently after this show.
we end up, I think at some point I had called Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Yeah. So she calls back and she's like, "Hey, are you there?" I say, "Yes, we're here," but he's telling us the same thing you guys told us, which is no, we can't take it. She gets on the phone with the police officer. Now, this is Jackson County Sheriff's Department speaking with the Ocean Springs Police Department. Ocean Springs Police Department is saying, "This is why we can't take this information." She says, "Okay." He gives me the phone back and she's like, "Okay, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to take the information." And that was, we met an officer. It was after midnight. Yeah, it was somewhere after midnight. Met him in the McDonald's parking lot, gave him the information. He was just like, "Okay, thanks." I was like,
Guys, we have to be careful. We can't accuse people without there being some solid evidence. I want to make that very clear. And that's why we have this whole discussion now about defamation and all of that. So let's just, for the record, there isn't any suspects noted so far. Neither has the group been withheld as far as legal action. So I just want to make that clear for some of the comments that are floating around.
like, where is the urgency? And so, as far as we know, there were no boats on the water that night. We actually, his high school football coach, Coach Bramlett, text Elmore that morning. He said, "Hey, man, I got a boat." Because again, we don't have boats. Let me make that very clear. We do not have a boat. We're not boating people. We don't do water like that. Okay. So Coach Bramlett's like, "Hey, I got a boat." So we was like, "Great, let's go." We're on the water. We go out there. We walk the island. Cell phone works perfectly fine. I actually had almost an entire conversation with my grandmother, who was in a panic, as we're walking this island looking for anything.
So let's note that from last night. Okay. We went through the police report that talks about how they were actually seen out there, the parents on their boat. But she says that on the island there was cell service. Okay. Now Warren said that he had one bar. He said you could make calls from the island, but you couldn't download. You had to wait. I want to make this clear. If Nolan refused to get on the boat with Warren and company, right, why wouldn't he have taken his phone, especially from a boat that's allegedly sinking and taking on water? Wouldn't you take your phone at that point? Okay. Now, when it came to the whole, he had his phone on the boat that day. It makes sense because they're in the water. They're hanging out. We've gone through the photos. So it makes sense you put your phone on the boat. But the big question, the dominant question is, at the end of the day, what person wouldn't take their phone that's going to be on an island? Maybe you need to call. Maybe he pays for things, and as he's on his way back home, he wants to go buy a Coke or whatever, or a Pepsi. And so he needs his phone in order to, pay for things, right? It just doesn't make sense when it comes to that part.
I just want to pause there. The cell phone worked fine because in the reporting, there's been so much reporting that there's poor cell phone reception. And this is some of the disputes that we have about that night. Dad, feel free to jump in here because they're saying he met this young lady, Katie, and that he stayed back. According to the reporting, Katie is saying no. He said he was
Lunatic, I always look forward to having you here for the show. It means a lot. Thank you.
going to go with his friends. According to the reporting, the friends say, no, he left us his phone because there was no reception. Dad, have you found any consistencies? Have you spoken directly with any of his friends?
Well, the first inconsistency was you called me and tell me my son stayed on the island to talk to a girl. My son would never do that. That's not in his character. I didn't raise none of my kids to do that. The second thing is you say he doesn't have his phone. He doesn't leave his phone. I will wake up sometimes in the morning and Nolan will have his phone here right in my face. And I'm waking up cussing and fussing like, boy, you don't get the camera on my face. And he just laughing and giggling and stuff like that. So it's twice. To me, there's two lies that he told me as a father.
Did you guys notice what he just said? Check this out. Listen to what he's saying here.
It's not in his character. I didn't raise none of my kids to do that. The second thing is you say he doesn't have his phone. He doesn't leave his phone. I will wake up sometimes in the morning and Nolan will have his phone here right in my face. And I'm waking up cussing and fussing like, boy, you don't get the camera on my face. And he just laughing and giggling and stuff like that. So it's twice. To me, there's two lies that he told me as a father. Like I said,
You said two lies that are told, right?
we went on the island. And actually, a classmate of mine called me that morning as we were going out to the island with Nolan's coach. He's like 40 miles away. He calls and, hey, man, I got the boat. Me and my boys, we're going to go out there and help you look. I didn't call him. He called me. And we're going to start on this end. I said, well, we're probably going to start on the other end. So me, my wife, Coach Bramley, and a high school.
Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe. If we could hit the hearts, thank you. Somebody's hitting the hearts. Thank you very much on both streams. Whatever stream you're on, just hit the hearts and make sure you like the video. Tell us what state you're actually watching from. Tonight, we're doing a deep dive at 8 p.m. Make sure you come back. I have some information that's going to be mind-boggling.
Classmate of mine were the only, we were the first ones out there looking. Like I said, we docked the boat, got out the boat, walked on the island. She had a whole conversation with her grandmother on the island. Got back on the boat, went back around the island. I guess that would be the north side, facing the Gulf of Mexico.
Good to see you, Simone. Thank you so much. And also Poppy.
I get another phone call. So my phone worked fine. So this whole thing about not having phone service, I don't know. I don't know if it's the carrier or what, but.
Guys, I can't turn the volume up. It's recorded very low and poor quality. I notice these press conferences are terrible as far as the sound quality, but sorry about that.
Ours worked fine. I think those around maybe 8 o'clock.
Yeah, because we finished up around.
Who was it? Jackson County or the?
Yeah, Jackson County Sheriff.
Finally showed up.
Yeah.
A couple of boats, they finally showed up. By that time, I was like, he's not out here. I was more focused that he was at someone's house.
That was
so.
Shout out to Consul.
That's what my hope.
Consuelo, maybe.
Was in Phillipsburg, so we left. The county stayed out there. My friend, he stayed out there because he called. He's like, well, we're going to stay out here a little bit longer. I said, okay, I appreciate it. So we leave. Then I would say maybe a couple hours later, my friend calls me back and he said, well, we're gonna give it and go, but he said, look, I can gas the boat back up. And if you want to go back out,
John, go check out the show from last night. You'll learn a lot there. Shout out to Deneen in Virginia, my home state, and Mustang. You're far too kind. You're so valuable. Thank you.
we can go back out there. I said, I don't want to go back out to the island. I have a feeling that he's not there. And I don't want to go back to the island. So he said, he said, well, if you do, we can go right now. I said, don't worry about it. I appreciate you coming out there. But he said at that time that helicopters were out there, more Coast Guard, more people out there. So we get back on land. And as far as the keys, was that night? Or was it
That was that night.
That was the night to call. Okay, let me back up.
All right, so the keys is what we have a lot of questions about. So let's listen in carefully as he talk about how they were able to obtain the keys and all of the smoke and the issues revolving around the obtaining the keys.
As far as getting the car back, after we gave our report to Jackson County, the sheriff department that night, we were trying to figure out who to get a report to. We had a friend in the family that located his phone. We wasn't there to get the phone, but apparently there was some kind of friction with getting his phone.
Yeah.
We don't know what the friction was.
So the phone and the key were at the same location, which was Jack's house.
Okay.
And again, all of these kids share their locations on Snapchat. And so she was like, hey, I can go pick his phone up, not thinking that his car is there, which she stopped everything she was doing. Her and the boys, they went out. Like, we were all out searching for him that night. And yeah, like Elmore was saying, there was an issue, some type of friction. The cops ended up coming and they left. And so then kind of the same thing when we came to pick up the key, Elmore went up there asking for the key.
Shout out to Numbers from South Africa. That's amazing. I just came back from Africa. Thank you.
Didn't know where the key was, and all of a sudden we know where the key is.
But see this, and this is another thing that bothered me too. When we got to the house, it was some of his other friends were there, and they were, beating on the door like, "What Nolan there? What Nolan there?" Beating on the door trying to get in the house. So I walk up to the door and I'm calming them down because for one, okay, you're loud. Two, you're in these people's house. So if you tear these people's house up, this could be a whole nother issue. I don't want y'all bothering it. And three, I need you guys to calm down. I need them to kind of trust me as being an adult so I can get something out of them.
Okay, guys, I'm turning down my volume a little bit. Hopefully that helps. Thank you, Hand Pay Hustler, for the feedback.
So I get them out the house, and then Jax finally comes down the stairs, I guess, in the room. Hair all messed up like he just woke up, whatever. I said, look, I'm Nolan's father. His car's outside. I need to get his car and all his personal effects that may be left over.
Okay, guys, for all this time, we thought it was actually Wyatt that had the keys, but he's saying it's Jack's. He went to Jack's home. So that's important because of the way that Warren says, buddy, 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 and my buddy this. It's hard to decipher who these individuals are. So now the father is filling in the gap. So we have to correct that. It's important to correct the facts as they become shade in, right? With different colors.
And he goes, oh man, Nolan was like my brother. I said, Nolan was like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go and get everything of his so I can get his car, I can go home. So he walks off. 2 or 3 minutes later, he come back. I don't see the keys. Okay. So I leave out the house, go back outside, stand by the car. During that time, one of the guys that was in the house, one of the other friends, he was on the phone with a girl who was apparently there with them earlier that day. And she was telling him that his keys was on top of the Xbox in his room. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and we're still out by the car. And
Let's listen to that a little bit more. Let's go back.
Go back outside, stand by the car. During that time, one of the guys that was in the house, one of the other friends, he was on the phone with a girl who was apparently there with them earlier that day. And she was telling him that his keys was on top of the Xbox in his room. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and we're still out by the car. And
So it was a girl on the phone that actually told Jax where Nolan keys were on top of the, I guess, the game player.
lo and behold, here comes the keys. So now to me, you lied to me 3 times. I don't.
He said they lied to him 3 times. That's 3 lies so far. What's happening here? Okay, so now we have to add this into the equation. Add this to your white sheet of paper, right? Did you take out your white sheet of paper?
Believe nothing that you tell me from here on out.
And this is Jax.
This is Jax.
And eventually he does give you the keys.
Yeah, eventually give.
But there was friction getting the keys.
Yes. So for one, you tell me my son is on left still on the island with a girl. 2, you have his phone. And 3, you don't give me the keys and I ask. I don't know any father who will believe just if one of my friends did that.
Okay, so Purple Groovy makes a great point. I tell you, we love Purple Groovy. Purple Groovy says the friend was already referring to Nolan in the past tense. What's happening here?
I'm gonna be cordial with you, but I'm gonna watch you. And I just.
Ben, I want to ask you, because I'm hearing these 2 parents who essentially had to become search and rescue or law enforcement, looking for their own child with such a lack of urgency on behalf of law enforcement.
So, guys, I'm opening up this for the watchers. If you're interested in becoming a Watching the World investigator, send me an email and I'll tell you what this is all about in regards to these cases. It's going to be very unique. And if you would like to become a part of this, I think you'll enjoy the research as we go through various cases and find out so much information and keep everything organized. Only respond if you're really serious about it, and I'll explain to you via email.
Obviously, we're talking to Black journalists. We can't ignore the ugly racial history of Mississippi. I looked into the demographics of the Jackson County Sheriff.
I'm also looking for courtroom reporters. You'll go to court each day in your vicinity. Sometimes you may have to travel. But if you're interested in that, send me an email. Let me know. I'll definitely explain to you how this could work. Thank you.
Sheriff Department is quite asymmetrical, but also just the general attitude and the lack of value when it comes to Black life. Does this sound like a normal process for when an 18-year-old goes missing to you? What holes have you seen in your looking into this case?
Tiffany, that was the question that.
Oh, one last thing. If you happen to be a pathologist, an attorney, paralegal, medical examiner, coroner, if you are a doctor, if you hold any position that's great for helping individuals understand cases at a higher level, please reach out to me. I would like to speak with you, perhaps to have you on the show, especially psychologists. So many different fields that we want to be able to bring more information to people.
Christine and Elmore had when they first called us, they wanted the truth.
Especially a civil rights attorney. If you're a civil rights attorney, I want to talk to you.
Of what happened to their 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells. And they had concerns whether they were going to get a fair and impartial investigation. And from that day to this one, it has been the same objective, to have truth, transparency, and find out what happened to Nolan. They said, we want a thorough investigation, because when they found Nolan, they expressed to me that the sheriff had already said no foul play. And they was like, no, my son, he knows how to swim. Our son is a college athlete. Our son is in great shape.
We don't believe that he just drowned and nobody knows nothing. Nobody saw nothing. I mean, there are about 300, 400 people on the island. And so that's what they were saying. We want to know what happened. We want truth. We want transparency. We don't want his death to be swept under the rug.
Well, just so to make sure the audience and the people watching at home know, so they did declare very quickly, as you're noting, that he drowned when his body was recovered on July 6th. Mom and Dad and you all know that he is a student athlete, able to swim. On July 4th on Horn Island, it was very crowded. Certainly the suggestion is someone would have seen a child in distress.
Thank you, Nikki.
There is going to be the convening of a grand jury. Now, the DA of this area, Angel Myers McElrath, is a very out loud, proud Republican. If there is a U.S. attorney appointed to this case, it will likely be a Trump appointee. I'm just curious, Ben, from you and Rev, I think we have to be very candid here. What concerns do you have about the racial animus that we are seeing so much of play in this case?
Well,
You or Rev, whoever.
All I'll say, and then defer to Rev, you want to believe that this is a child, that everybody is going to do their level best to find out what happened so these brokenhearted parents will know what happened to their child. In time, we've seen Christine and the family be attacked just for asking questions. What happened to my child? Trying to say, no, we want to question this part of the investigation, that part of the investigation, because day one you said no foul play, but tell me now, what are you doing to be able to get us to the truth? And that is, it causes them sleepless nights. We talk at night. And so trust but verify. We are trying to cooperate everything we can do to say, hey, we want to help, but we want you to give them a thorough investigation. We want you to do for him what you would do for your child.
Rev, I'm going to come to you in a sec, but you brought up something, Ben, about attacks. And certainly as journalists, we have a keen eye, and I have noticed that the narrative around this story has shifted to the threats that are going to the young men who was with Nolan. They've hired attorneys who previously represented Donald Trump in cases. They've gone on very MAGA-friendly podcasts. And I just want to make sure that we keep the main thing, the narrative to the victim, to the actual child who died. And I'm curious, Christine, if you can weigh in on what threats have you and your family experienced?
So there has been a big smear campaign, just not only professionally, but personally for me.
Notice she said what threats, and then I believe it's Ben Crump that said attacks. Okay, that's interesting.
And
they attacked your nursing license.
Yes, so it started out with 1-star reviews of people saying they saw me. My office verified that these were incorrect. And then it went so much as to someone contacted the Board of Nursing, and then that opened the investigation for the professional misconduct. There was no evidence presented for that claim. And the investigator I spoke with, he said, we have to do our due diligence. I said, I understand it. I respect it. He was like, I'm sorry it's coming at this time. I was like, no, I get it. Do what you have to do, because I know who I am. I know what kind of care I give to my patients. I know the relationship that we have. And I'm grateful that my patients, a lot of them are still trusting and loving in the care that they know they're going to get with me. And so these attacks are not going to, it's not going to break me. I have to find out. We have to find out what happened to Nolan. That is the only question we've ever asked. We've never blamed anyone. We've never tried to smear anyone. I know I heard something about the picture. That picture was sent to me because
This is a picture of him on the
with,
boat.
on the boat with people.
Yes.
And what it was is they were like, the person was like, Miss Christine, the information is incorrect. This is what he was wearing. Because initially he was in black shorts, which again, that is the information I received from Warren verbally and via text. When she sent me that picture, I was like, oh, completely different color. These are like a blue-gray short. So we had to correct that. But I'm grateful. We are grateful to all of you.
You guys notice that? So there's a discrepancy with the color of shorts. Warren told her it was black shorts. When they received the photos, it was actually blue shorts. Okay, so add that to the equation.
Thank you for keeping our son's story alive. And thank you so much, Tiffany, for having us.
I think that's part of our assignment here, our responsibility. So often in newsrooms, we have.
Tell us in the chat, why do you think we have these discrepancies when it comes to even what Nolan was wearing? They have the girl's name different. It's Katie here and talking to the mother, but then when they speak to the police, it's a different girl's name that hadn't seen Nolan in a year. What do you think is happening here?
Have to defend and define Black life and defend and define our own humanity. And so it makes a difference. The same way in other newsrooms, when you see someone and you feel like they're familiar, that so happens as they resegregate newsrooms and lay off Black journalists en masse, that goes away. So the people in this room have a keen interest in this story because they see your humanity, and that's what we center in this conversation. Rev, put this in historical context for us, because as I look at Mississippi, I don't have to tell you of all people some of the immediate thoughts.
Guys, Simone makes a great point. Says, why are people not being arrested that falsely attack Miss Kristen? Thank you, Christine. Thank you.
That surface for us here.
Well, when I got the call from Ben Crump and he had the parents connected, and they told me the story, I'd not heard the story. I heard something about some in Mississippi. But when I heard the details, the thing that jarred me from a civil rights point of view, and I've been working, Ben has come National Action Network for 20-some years, doing a case, and then in from there on and on and on. And if it's not a civil rights position, we don't get involved. When they told me that law enforcement said there is no foul play.
No foul play. I am Sam says they are creating confusion and distractions. Thank you. Nice to have you here. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
That's a prejudgment. And I said, wait a minute. They said, the parents repeated to me on the phone. I said, they said it was this 2 days after it happened. And how do you investigate and there's no foul play and you don't even know what happened yet? So that's what perked my interest. So I said that, well, we'll be involved and we'll help to the best of our ability. Talked another day or two. I said, y'all come to New York, we'll have a national press conference. That's how we broke the story. The first national.
For those of you just coming in, I have the volume maxed out. This is the only recording I could find of the event. And unfortunately, it's poor quality like last time. Even the video quality is poor. Sorry about that. But thank you guys. It's good to see Gold Digger and Jeff in the building.
Press conference they did at our headquarters, National Action Network. Then all of a sudden, it was all of this attack for getting involved. And so, and they asked me to do the eulogy. I said, we'll take care of the funeral. Tyler Perry called me and said, no, I'll take care of it. So the thing that bothered me, one, it was prejudgment. Second, the parents of the guys that were with him started talking about they was going to sue us for getting involved. And sue, I don't even know the kid's name. So you can't say I defame your son. I don't know your son's name. But I will say this on this stage. I want them to sue me first.
Guys, I just want to point this out really quick. We're living in a different day and time because I believe from the GoFundMe, the family has been able to raise over $800,000. Also, Tyler Perry paid for the funeral. And then you had Kaepernick pay for the independent autopsy. So we're starting to see in these cases, whenever there's some sort of nightmare happening, someone loses their life, people are starting to chip in with money from all over the world.
And I tell you why. No, I'll tell you why. And National Action Network, you serve the papers, because I want to depose your son. If you sue, the plaintiffs are deposed. So rather than us depend on a Mississippi DA who already had people saying it was no foul, let's go to civil court, any kind of court you want to go to, because you can't make this make sense. And direct to your point, Tiffany, as I said in the eulogy.
Thank you, Kathleen.
I did. I don't know what happened. The parents never said they knew what happened. They never said it was racial. I don't know it was racist, but they don't know it wasn't racist. You don't know what happened. So why are you prejudging it unless something is there you don't want out? Second thing is, and I said this to Elma and Kristen, I had hurt my knee. I had torn my meniscus. And when I tore it, I told Ben the truth. I did it working out one morning, but I told them I got it because I was on my knees praying too much. But anyway.
Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Please hit the hearts. Thank you very much for all the support. Also, turn on your notifications so you can see when we go live, because lately YouTube have not been putting out the notifications. So I would encourage you to go back, hit your notification button, start all over, reset it so you make sure that tonight when we go live, you'll be the first to know.
When they took me to say they may have to do surgery, the first thing they said is, well, we got to get your medical history from your primary doctor. I said, okay. So I said in the eulogy that I don't know what happened, but I got your history in Mississippi. And the history tells me black boy go out with 3 white kids come back. There's a blurred story on what happened. Now y'all all hostile and all upset. Didn't have the keys, but then you had the keys. Some about this don't make sense given your history. And I'm gonna stay on this until we find out what happened. It may be nothing, but we're not gonna leave that up to chance with people that are distorted. We gonna stay on this case. And lastly, since they want to talk about lawsuits, one of the things tying your morning together, Tiffany, they may come back, as you suggested, playing right-wing politics with this, with the local prosecutor, maybe even with the federal people. But if we have a change in January and there is a Democratic House, I said that if Hakeem becomes the speaker, he needs to have the chair judiciary subpoena them to the Judiciary Department, testify on the oath. That's what this vote means. We need to have a check and balance of government so that we got somewhere to go. We can't depend to go to Trump's Justice Department. So we need to really mobilize so people like these 2 parents can protect their children.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you laid out such a great example on how the tentacles of white supremacy cast such a dark shadow over almost every aspect of what parents went through. I know that there's so many more questions that I have, and I'm sure the audience has.
Guys, I put out a short in regards to Nolan Wells. Please go check out that short. Give it a like, give it a share. Let's get some movement, because sometimes YouTube is weird. Okay, I'll put it that way.
As all my broadcasters know, I have an ISB, and they've been telling me to rap for about 10 minutes. We wanted, it was my pleasure to go over time, and not only my pleasure, my responsibility to give you all a platform to share your story. I think it's so important, and I think this is a responsibility that the Black journalists in this room take very seriously and will carry with them back to their newsrooms where they may be the only, or back to their platforms where they are building reach or have a wide reach. So I thank you all for sharing your time and being so open. There will be a press conference. There was an autopsy, a second autopsy that Ben Crump initiated that I believe Colin Kaepernick helped to fund. There were questions around that. And so please, I encourage credentialed media to please go to the press conference, and the access for credentialed media will be on the NABJ app for more information.
All right, so enough of that. It had very poor quality when it comes to the recording. We get it. Not so happy about it, but it is what it is. So basically, I want to just take a few moments before we skedaddle, as they would say, and see if I could pull up something here for you in regards to the Nolan Wells. It's something impromptu I hadn't planned on showing, but if I can find it really quick, I'll show it to you. Let's see what we can find here. And it looks like I may not be able to. Let's see. I think we can find it this way. Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Witness. Okay. Maybe not. All right. So I wanted to show you something. Give me one more second. I'm going to see if I could find this. If not, Nolan Wells. Give me 1 second here. Again, guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Every little like helps tremendously. Here we go. I found it. I want you guys to pay attention to this. Okay, I want you to pay attention to this right here. But before we do that, let me pull this up first.
Thank you, Brandy. Here.
Okay, here we go. So before we do that, I want you guys to understand this concept really quick in regards to Nolan Wells. Initially, when Nolan went missing, the narrative, now there's several things that came out in this particular conference that we heard today that it's questionable because the father kept saying that these are lies, okay? They're pointing out the fact that the mother was told he was wearing black shorts versus, that's why perhaps she shared the photo because he had on blue, right? Blue shorts. All of this makes sense. But especially when it came to the keys, the father said, listen, a lot of this is not true, right? A lot of this is not true. I'm here today to tell you this concept. Initially, when Nolan Wells went missing around July the 4th, first reporting that I actually heard was from the United Cajun Navy. And when you go back and actually check out their first interview in regards to Nolan Wells, you know what they say? They say that at 3 o'clock, that's when Nolan was last seen. But they also, several different platforms tied 3 o'clock, saying that Nolan was last seen at 3 o'clock because that's when the boat left. Okay, so 3 o'clock was attached to the departure of the boat. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys are following the scenario so far. Show me you're here. Show me you're cooperating. We love to see some cooperation, see some response from you guys. Show us that you're around, okay? So that was at 3 o'clock. I'm going to show you a video now, and I want you to notice what the local news had to say as far as the time. Okay, now this is all close to the actual disappearance, and we're going to call it the disappearance because at this time, they didn't even know that he would show up on the shore dead, okay? So check out this video here, and we're just going to focus on the time, okay? The time. Check this out.
At the Lake Mars boat launch is where the investigation, or excuse me, the search party is going to be set up. You can see here over my shoulder, the Jackson County Mobile Command Unit is already here and set, and there is a pickup truck on the other side of it for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office as well. Now, they were here yesterday looking and searching the area. What we know right now is that Nolan Wells was last seen without a shirt in blue swim trunks with some sunglasses on around 3 p.m. on the 4th of July over at Horn Island. Now, he went out there with some friends to celebrate the weekend and celebrate the holiday, and has not been seen, like I said, since 3 p.m. Now, the search party is expected to continue today. The United Cajun Navy is expected to also take some aircrafts up in the air to help with the search efforts. I've already heard about 2 planes go over my head this morning as well. We got a chance to speak with the United Cajun Navy earlier about this investigation moving forward.
You know, if you were one of the group that was with him, or if you were on the island and you were there and saw anything, please don't be afraid to come forward and tell the authorities exactly what you know, no matter what you might think might be some consequences or whatnot. But it's very important right now in these critical moments that we get truthful, confirmable information.
Now, the family and also Jackson County Sheriff's Department is looking for any information or any photos or videos that could have helped and could help pinpoint a timeline out there on the island on July 4th. If you were out there celebrating on Horn Island on Independence Day and you have anything that you feel like could prove or point to a person or timeline, it is asked that you send that in to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, so tell me in the comment section, what time was it, according to this report that came out? He hadn't even been found at this point, right? But what time did they say he was last seen? Let's see if you're paying attention. Show us you're not a bot. We have so many bots, but the bots can't come on the camera. So that's the way we can tell the real from the fake. All right. What time was it that Nolan was last seen, according to this report that came out even before he was found? All right. Sophie's World says 3 p.m. Also, Lunatic says 3. Cheryl says 3. Thank you guys very much. So numerous reports were stating that, listen, Nolan was last seen at 3 o'clock. We never heard anything about 4:30. Where did the 4:30 come from? What compelled people to start saying 4:30 instead of 3? You know what it was? It was the actual GPS report. You see, when that GPS report came out and it said the boat actually left at 4:30, now the narrative started to change to 4:30. You follow? Now the narrative changes to 4:30. That's a big difference. So now you have to balance 3 o'clock, right, along with 4:30. So now you get the scenario, and even actually when you get a chance to hear from Warren as he's sitting on Officer Tatum's couch, he gives you now a 3 o'clock story, and then he gives you a 4:30 story. See? And now the problem is they don't jive. That's a real big concern. But why is that the case? At 3 o'clock, he says he saw Nolan. He's talking to that Katie girl, remember? That was at 3 p.m. That's the last time that Warren saw Nolan. But he also tells you that at 4:30, right, his friend, he says basically, he walks up. In fact, guys, we have a few minutes here. Would you guys like for me to break this down and show you on the video? I had not prepared for any of this. Quite frankly, I only prepared to come on and show you guys the conference. But if you'd like to take a quick moment and see what I'm talking about, go ahead and put a 10 in the chat. If you would rather see it at a different time, I understand that. So if I get enough people wanting to see it, then I would gladly pull that up for you. It would just take me a minute to do so. But the bottom line is he says 3 o'clock, but we also get that 4:30 scenario. And the other problem is everybody else is saying, listen, that CTO call actually came in. Okay, so guys, bear with me. Since everybody wants to see it, I'm going to pull it up for you really quickly here. And I want to thank you guys for all of your participation. Just give me a moment and I'll try to make this very easy for you. Just give me a moment. Okay, here we go. So give me 1 second. I'm going to have this dialed up for you in a moment here. So here we go. All right. So I want you guys to pay attention to the 3 o'clock versus the 4:30. Now, keep in mind, initially everybody said 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Then the MDMR released that 4:30 report, and now you have to quantify 3 o'clock and also 4:30. So let me just pull this up here.
Like to go on the boat, not just fishing, but like to go on the boat, like to go on sunset thing. My friends go on the boat when we're, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast, very, very popular. The 4th of July.
And then I want you to then walk me through what we did together.
Okay, here we go, guys. Pay attention to the 3 o'clock versus the 4:30. I think is very telling. Again, we're not accusing Warren of anything. We don't know exactly what happened. We're just trying to put together what information we do have to come to a reasonable conclusion of what could have or perhaps happened to Nolan Wells. Again, hit the like button, share, subscribe, keep hitting the hearts if you don't mind, especially in the horizontal chat. Let's check this out. Get out your white sheet of paper. I hope you guys are keeping a good note. I know M. Wallen, I know Deborah and many others are doing that in New Jersey. And okay, so let's get going.
That you hang out often in this fashion. And then I want you to then walk me through 4th of July this year when the incident happened.
Okay. Being from the Gulf Coast, there's a boating and fishing is very, very popular. The 4th of July, every year, my friends and I or my family and I are out on the water. I mean, that's the one day is guaranteed everybody's going out. And that's a known thing. Everybody's trying to get a ride out to Horn Island or, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn Island. And, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year. And he was, this was a common thing. My friends go on the boat when we're home.
You know what, guys? I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Actually, give me 1 second. This is actually the part 1. I need to pull up a different part here. Just give me 1 second and I'll have this up actually. Let's see if we can find part 3. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. All right.
So I want to be clear with this one thing. You're on the boat now. The water is getting up to the point where the boat may be disabled to where you couldn't get it out.
Correct.
From Horn. The boat may be disabled to where you couldn't get it out.
Correct.
From Horn.
Correct.
Horn Island. So what happens after that?
Wyatt jumps to the water, tries to throw a rear anchor, and my buddy Meyer, you're sitting looking, trying to pull trash out the bilge. And
you hear that? You guys see how they edited right here? I showed you. We're going to do a show on edits alone. Now, I would assume that Officer Tatum is doing the edits, right? But notice right here. Check this out. Notice this edit.
You're sitting looking, trying to pull trash out the bilge. And the bilge is basically a pump that pulls the water, the excess water out the boat. So the bilge was failing to work. So any excess water was just sitting in the boat. It wasn't getting pumped out. And I looked over the gunnel and I looked at the release hole for the bilge and it was even with the water. So, we're all freaking out. All of our, we're not focused on anything else other than the boat. Well, then eventually my buddy Bart on the tide line is like, I'm going to pull y'all out to where we're out of all this, all this chaos. Cause we left at 4:30 and there was still.
All right. So they left at 4:30. You note that? So now we get 4:30 in the mix. Okay. So they leave at 4:30.
Just as many people there, if not more than when we got there. Probably around the same amount. It was crazy. Like there was a lot of people. And
he also said that his buddy Bart starts to pull them out of right by the shore. See, a lot of people think that the call to sea tow was made while they were by the shore. But actually, he's going to explain to us that this call to sea tow actually occurred after they were towed out a quarter of a mile. But we have the GPS report. The GPS report says they were towed 2.75 miles, okay? Almost 3 miles away. Check it out.
Eventually, Bart pulls us out. We left at 4:30, but we really weren't pulled out away from everybody. We were probably about a quarter mile out. And
see, they were pulled out a quarter of a mile, okay? Quarter of a mile. Now I want you guys to note where they were located when this call to sea tow made. See, everybody, when you go to the mainstream media, I want you guys to start paying attention. Right here, we cover this tight. And that's why I told Officer Tatum, listen, I'll debate anybody, you, We could talk about it because I cover this so much. But they keep saying that the call to sea tow happened right by the shore. But what did Warren just say? He says they were towed out a quarter of a mile out because there's so much chaos, right? That's the reason why they were towed out, right? But now notice what he says about when the call was made.
And we had the towing strap pulled from, Bart's port side cleat or starboard side cleat, and he was on our starboard side bow. And so it was rubbing on his power pole. So Bart turned around, pulled up next to our boat, and we were just trying to get it situated. So that's when Wyatt called sea tow.
See, that's when Wyatt called sea tow. Do you guys hear that? Are you with me? If you're with me, put a 1 in the chat. All right, put a 1 in the chat. That's when Wyatt called sea tow, after they were already a quarter of a mile out at sea. But again, the GPS said they were 2.75 miles. So that call was not made by the shore. Well, what does that tell us? That tells us that if Nolan stayed on the island, there's no way when we get to this audio, because remember the audio happens, it's picked up as they're calling sea tow. So he just says, hey, Wyatt calls sea tow after they're towed out. In the background, what do you hear? People are saying, Nolan, Nolan. Why are you hearing Nolan if the boat is out a quarter of a mile? Why are you hearing Nolan if, according to the GPS, they're out 2.75 miles? You follow what I'm saying? Okay, so it's very important that you pay attention to what Warren is saying, not what the media is saying, because a lot of them have not taken the time to really understand at least what's being said from those that were there, including Nolan's alleged friends. Okay.
And Wyatt was like, calls them, because the cell service isn't great at the island, but once you can use your phone, but stuff might not descend, and it's not great. You got maybe one bar, it won't work that well.
Okay, remember we just heard from the mother. The mother talked about the cell service. She said it was pretty decent, right? Check it out. So it's similar, not accurate, not totally together, but similar.
But once you get a little off the island, you have cell coverage, and even on the island, like I called my mom when we were on the island. It was fine. Like we had enough cell coverage to make a phone call or shoot a text over, but you don't have enough cell coverage to like send a picture, for example. So what?
So I want to go back.
Yeah,
I want to touch on that real quick, because the phone thing.
John, it really doesn't matter if they're a quarter of a mile or 2.75 miles. The bottom line is, at a quarter of a mile, you should not be hearing Nolan on the boat, period. Okay? A quarter of a mile. Imagine that. You shouldn't hear anything about Nolan this and Nolan that, especially when it comes to whether he has life or not, right? Okay, so let's just make that clear.
It came up at some point. And so was it when you guys got off the boat?
Yeah.
Were people taking their phones off the boat? Or is that not typical? Because I know that Nolan's phone was left on the boat.
Right.
Even though, after you guys had left. So can you explain that? Because I think people need to understand this a little clearer.
Yeah.
Was it typical for people to have their phones left on boats, or did they keep their phones in the water?
Yeah. Everybody kind of goes out to the island to get away from, their phones and everything else. I know I got on the boat to get away from, just the regular world. And no, when you're waist deep in water, no one's carrying their phone in their hand, especially at Horn Island.
See, that makes sense to me, because they're hanging out in the water. Who would have their phone? Obviously we see people on their phones right there in the water, but that makes sense.
The water has been very, very murky because of the rain. And when it's just very risky. If you're going to have your phone in the water, some people might for a couple minutes and like maybe taking some pictures of each other. I know a lot of girls like to take pictures in the water at Horn Island. Guys do too. Like people like to take pictures, and but a lot of the pictures you see are on the boat for a reason. And so
I cannot speak for what anybody else here or heard in regards to the audio on the boat. I can only speak for what I heard and what I sleep with knowing at night. And it's not my job to try to influence somebody else as to what they might be hearing in the audio. But I do know one thing. if there's a consistency among the people as to what they're hearing, and I'm starting to hear it from this person and all the way around, it gives credence that people are not crazy, neither are they fools, okay? So we could come to a reasonable conclusion that definitely Nolan is being stated in the background. I think for the most part, you would have a hard time to go online and try to tell. What if I came online tomorrow and I told you guys, hey, watchers, you're not hearing Nolan in the background, right? People won't take me seriously anymore, right? Because there's just enough there to understand that Nolan is being said. Now, there are some things that very debatable, but you don't need the enhancement in order to come to a reasonable conclusion. All you have to do is go to the local news, WLOX. They have the audio, which is downloaded, they receive from the MDMR. So now you would have to say, well, either the MDMR distorted this audio, added to it, or WLOX had an axe to grind and they added to the audio, because the audio that they have on their website or their YouTube page, it has the hold music, right? It's not enhanced, and you can still hear at least Nolan, and you hear those words associated with death. Okay. So now when you talk about the chain of custody in regards to the audio, you should be able to trace it back right to that call that came in. And especially now that Ben Crump says, listen, we're having professionals look at it. But in order to go to court and establish this in a serious way, it has a certain methodology in order to figure it out, right? So we're going to wait for that and try to see how that develops. But for the most part, you hear what you hear. And I'm not here to try to sway anybody left or right. But I do know that I can process this audio enough to know that Nolan appears to be in the background based on what these individuals are saying in this audio, whether real or fake. That's what you hear, right?
No, I mean, if someone is on their phone in the water, they're using it real quick and then putting it right back on the boat. We were all waist deep in water. No one's sitting there scrolling on their phone. I never saw that once. And I've never seen that once. And I've been out the Highland my whole life. I mean, that's just not something people do. People aren't on their phones. And everybody has their phone, yes, but it's always on the boat. No one's getting off the boat with their phone. So
you guys get ready to leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah.
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, the last time I saw Nolan was 3:00, and Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie, Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing, and I was like,
okay, did you guys catch that?
The last time I saw Nolan was 3:00.
Okay, the last time you saw Nolan was 3:00. You notate that, right? 3:00. And what was he doing?
And Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie, Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at.
You know what's so amazing, right? Because I do this every day. I get guys coming in, and they have so much to say, right? Some of them look like they probably have been hanging out in the marsh for about 25 years, right? And they probably only been on Earth 20 years or so, right? But they come in and they talk all this noise about this and that, or they try to, oh, it's your hat. Why do you have a hat on with a suit? Because I feel like it, and I'm going to continue to do it, right? And I do it quite well. That's why we do it, right? You see that, right? Beautiful, okay? And I know it ruffles your feathers, but you have to stoop low to talk about people's appearance, or you have to start calling names. You know why? Because my argument is A grade to the top. I'm showing you the hard facts of what people are actually saying that were involved. I'm showing you the police report. And because you don't have an argument, you have to stoop low. You have to vibrate at the lowest level, right? Have to vibrate so low. And guess what? We still give you recognition And we hope that you can dry yourself up, take a good bath, eat a good meal, brush your hair, right? Stand up straight, get your act together, stop harassing folks, stop coming into somebody else's chat that did not stop and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, come check out Watching the World. But you chose to come in. And the first thing you do, instead of what your parents probably taught you, hopefully, is to bless the house and say, hello, good folks, how you guys doing? You come in calling names just like a person that's ill-mannered with no good home training. Who raised you? Could you at least, if you don't have the decency about yourself to care enough to handle yourself appropriately, why don't you represent your family, represent your mom and dad in a great way, at least disguise the fact that you have become so degraded in your thinking, right? So much that you have to go around harassing other people who didn't even tell you to come in, right? So get it together, stop doing that, and act like a civilized human being. That's all we ask of you. We welcome you in. Go shower up, right? Get rid of that filth, because if your mind is so dirty, I know that everything else about you could be as well. So get it together and knock it off, okay? This is a good little warning for you, but this is actually encouragement from me to just be a human, okay? Stop all this name calling and acting like a damn fool, all right? Let's get back to it. But thank you guys who have to put up with these type of people who are ill-mannered.
Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head laughing, and I was like, dude, you crazy. I was like just joking with him. And but anyway, Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl and
Okay, so this is the part most people are not catching, okay? So now, he told you the last time he saw Nolan. Notice what he just said, right? Check this out.
All the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but
right here, you have to pay attention. He's describing, this is not what someone else is saying. He's now telling you basically what he's witnessing himself. Check this out. A lot of us didn't catch this the first time around. Look at this.
Nolan was sitting by the boat with
Nolan's sitting by the boat. So that's a visual. Nolan is sitting by the boat. Now we need to understand what time is he still talking about 3 o'clock, or now is he talking about a different time? Check this out.
That Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now.
And if you're coming, you got to come now. Why? Because the boat's leaving. See, this is 4:30, right? Not 3 o'clock. This is 4:30.
And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said,
how many people heard that? Were there just
at least
just
5 everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already.
Everybody on the boat. Now, here's the key part, right? Here's the key part. Notice what he's about to say about the Palm Beach.
We left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and at least
just
5 everyone that was on our boat right there.
So everybody on the boat heard say, Nolan, get on the boat, right? But he started off by stating Nolan is there with the girl. See, that's more of a visual, okay? A lot of us missed that part. Now, remember I told you about the Palm Beach? Initially, when we started off today, we learned that the Palm Beach, he said it was 4 people that came in on the Palm Beach, right? but he didn't say who was the pilot or who was driving the boat. Now, this is the key point right here. Pay attention to this.
There, because the Palm Beach had already left.
Oh, the Palm Beach had already left.
My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and three guys on the way back. And
three guys on the way back. 4 guys came in. 3 guys went back on the Palm Beach. Who was the missing guy that did not come on the Palm Beach? See, that's the question, right? That's the big question.
Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. I mean, we had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon.
All right, guys. So you have a taste of what we're going to do tonight at 8 p.m. I want you guys to definitely tune in. I've kept you far too long today. Sorry, I had to give a pep talk, but we get too many trolls. We have so many amazing people who are just enjoying themselves. A lot of times people probably are not paying attention to what I'm saying. They like the vibe here, but they're talking in the chat, enjoying each other. But then we have to deal with these drifters coming in, looking for a beer. But this is not the alcohol store. All right, so knock it off. Get it together. Pull yourself together and act dignified, please. I give you the opportunity to come on the show and talk to me, and let's talk about this case. But yet, you'd rather just stay in the chat with your Twitter fingers, calling names to people who are not even into that type of lifestyle. So again, thank you guys very much for tuning in today. We covered a lot of territory when it comes to, I try not to block everybody. I'm not a big blocker. Okay. Sometimes people have a change of heart. Perhaps they realize that this is not the place they expected. So we try to give them some opportunity. Thank you so much for all of the amazing folks here at Watching the World. Again, we don't know what happened to Nolan Wells yet. We trust that the local authorities will definitely help us to understand what may have happened to Nolan. Please tune back in tonight at 8 p.m. as Mama Flips and I, we really break down this case at a high level. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate everyone who took the time to like the video, share it on your social media, right? Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications because YouTube sometimes goes back and forth and doesn't always turn out to be as supportive as you would imagine. I'll keep it right there. And also, on your way out, tell us what state you're located in. We'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to really break down Nolan Wells and some of these key points. And make sure you bring your white sheet of paper and your pen, your pencil, so that we could tie this together. Because the key here is obtaining the big picture, right? We're not aiming at people. We're not trying to ruin anyone's life. We're simply trying to find out what may have happened to Nolan, because a lot of the stories that we're being told just don't add up. And I think we make it very clear here at Watching the World. If you didn't get a chance to check out the show from last night, it's very important that you go back and watch that before you tune in tonight, because I'm building layers of truth in regards to this case, right? Nolan is not here to speak for himself. I have no desire to speak with his legal team, right? My blessings go out to his family. But what we're doing here is talking about this case at a high level and really keeping everybody honest and keeping the truth at the forefront. And it's not our desire to bring harm or to bring ill will to any person, especially people that don't have anything to do with bringing harm. My last point that I like to say, as of right now, the last time anyone has seen Nolan would be what you just heard from Warren at 4:30 p.m. when he was by the boat with that Katie girl. You heard what Warren said. Then also they heard Nolan's voice denying to get on the boat. That's at 4:30, okay? But at 4:48, that call went out to Cito. See, that telephone call was made. In the background, you can hear people saying the name of Nolan, and they're saying some concerning things that I told you how you can obtain the raw video. Forget about the enhanced video. But that would truly be the last time that we have a glimpse of Nolan's life, right? Of someone actually talking about him, reporting about him, okay? But after that, we do not have any occurrence of Nolan, and that's quite concerning, just to say the least. The attorneys for the young men came forth and they said on Nancy Grace last night, 6 p.m., 2 people saw Nolan on the island. Well, that's great. Unfortunately, we're going to need some sort of documentation, pictures. We need some audio. We need some metadata because the environment right now is just not conducive for trust. Okay, it's not conducive for trust, but I will tell you this. If they produce any information showing, if anyone has information that can show that Nolan was on the island after 4:30, believe you me, I'll be the first to come forward and show the watchers, hey, listen, this is Nolan. This looks very promising. It shows that Nolan's on the island, so now we can scratch this audio. You see how that works? But right now, everything that has been put forth at 4:50, they show you a person wearing blue shorts. Turns out, nope, not Nolan. Okay. Some guy says that at 5 o'clock there was a fight on the island. Well, the girl came. This is in the United Cajun Navy report. And the lady says, oh, no, she kind of threw that out. So they walked away from that saying, well, we don't know if that was Nolan. We can't find Nolan. Where in the world is Nolan? Right? We're watching the world. We're trying to find Nolan, but we can't find him. So now we're left with 6 p.m. And tonight we're going to take a look at what Nancy Grace said to those attorneys she really put the screws to the attorneys saying, listen, did these 2 people that saw Nolan, did they know each other? Oh, yeah, they knew each other. Okay. She's starting to look at it from the lens of a high performing attorney, but she has many years under her belt. Okay. And we're looking at it the same, but we're hopeful that we can find Nolan on the island so that we can totally dismiss the audio, right? That's what we want to do. But something seems difficult about that. And I wonder why. Perhaps you can tell us why tonight if you tune in at 8 p.m. with Mama Flips. She's already set the blaze. And it's like last weekend I went to Usher's and Chris Brown's show. And so Usher walked and he poured alcohol over the stage. And then he reached down and he set it on fire. See, that's how Mama Flips is coming through tonight. So you don't want to miss that. I'll try to bring a bottle of water to keep her cool down because I know it's quite hard for her to behave that way, but she's kind of hard to say the least. Thank you so much. I enjoyed you guys. I hope you feel the same. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you choose to be here with Watching the World. And we're going to do it, and we're going to do it well. Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Peaceful flight, colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.